My husband, Mike, quit his job but refuses to help any house chores. On top of that, he verbally abuses me. It even seems like he's having an affair. In order to catch him in the act, I came up with a plan. I pretended to go on a trip and left the house. Watching from a local coffee shop, I saw Mike's ex, Sarah, entering our home. Intending to catch the two of them red-handed, I quietly unlocked the door and tiptoed up the stairs. I overheard Mike and Sarah's conversation coming from the bedroom. I never thought I'd run into you again working at that gas station. This must be fate. Ah, why did I marry her? Why did you marry your wife? I thought she'd be docile and easily obey me. If I can control the money, I can spend however I want. A free housekeeper? But lately, I can't stand even breathing the same air with her. Oh, Mike, you're so mean. Sarah giggled. I could feel my blood boiling. They sure have a lot to say, don't they? Who do they think they are? They'll regret those words soon enough. My name is Diane, a 30-year-old housewife. After graduating from college, I started working at a small business and worked hard to adapt to the working environment. By the time I got the hang of my job, I was already in my mid-20s. As news of my friends getting married poured in, I felt the pressure. It was then that I met Mike through a mutual acquaintance. After several dinners, I realized Mike was the complete opposite of me. He's friendly, a great chatter, and has a lot of charm. You're so feminine and lovely, Diane. Baking and crafting? Sounds like you'd make a great wife. He unabashedly complimented and flattered me. Eventually, Mike confessed his feelings, and we began dating. The following year, we got married. The fun part was only at the beginning. Soon after, Mike started making condescending remarks towards me. Right after we got married, I felt something was off about what Mike said to me. He was pressuring me to become a stay-at-home wife. Why don't you quit your job? Your salary's probably low since you work at a small company. We can live comfortably on just my earnings, you know. I was taken aback, not expecting him to say something like that. Sure, my company might be smaller compared to your big corporation, Mike. But it's an established firm, so the salary is steady, and the benefits are good. Plus, without any kids around, it seems like a waste to be home all day. Mike frowned upon hearing my rebuttal. You just don't want to do housework properly. If you tried, there wouldn't be enough hours in the day. I want to work outside, Mike. Even if I earn less than you, I want to earn my own spending money. Plus, in this day and age, there's no guarantee that a husband will be able to work up to retirement. You worry too much, Diane. My company's not going under. Got it, I'll just give you an allowance, all right? Mike laughed as if it couldn't be helped. I'll handle the finances. I can't trust you with it, you're too careless. His arrogant words irritated me, but there was some truth in them. Mike's reliable, and he went to a better college than I did, so he's more accomplished. Anyway, quit your job by the end of this month. All right, I got it. It was a real shame since I was just starting to enjoy my job, but I couldn't argue with Mike, so I just went along with it. However, Mike's domineering behavior didn't stop there. Every evening when he came home, he started inspecting the entire house. If he found even a single hair on the floor, he'd get in a bad mood. What did you do all day? Probably just spent it watching TV or on your phone, right? Must be nice being a woman. Get 3 meals and a nap, and your husband supports you. Mike, using the fact that I was a housewife, never helped with any chores. When I was bedridden for 3 days with the flu, he didn't even wash his own dishes and complained instead of being concerned for me. This mess is your fault. Why can't you take care of yourself? You get sick like this because you're always lazing around. Come on, you can do some chores even with a slight fever. I'm sorry. This is how it was every day. Mike nitpicked every little mistake I made. I wanted to stand up to him, but I still loved Mike and was afraid of starting a fight that might lead to a divorce proposal. He's probably just stressed out from work right now. If he could just calm down a bit, he should return to the gentle Mike I knew when we were dating. I kept telling myself that, enduring each day. But as if mocking my faint hopes, Mike became more and more arrogant with each passing day. He demanded too much femininity from me. Always look pretty. Don't embarrass me. I get it. Keep your hair brown and straight. No pants. Wear a skirt since you're a woman. I will. Don't wear the same clothes all the time. It'll look like we're broke. Nobody's gonna think that. You're so naive. I check out what the young women in the neighborhood are wearing. Others surely do the same. Just do as I say. Forcing his ideas on me, I dyed my hair monthly, got it straightened, and regularly bought new clothes. Yet, he only gave me an allowance of $50 a month. At first, I spent from my savings before marriage, but when that ran out, I asked Mike for permission to work from home. I thought of resuming my hobby of making bead accessories. Nowadays, if it becomes popular online, it'll sell, which is the convenience of this era. Turns out, it became more popular than I expected, quickly became a hot topic, and in no time, I was booked for the next year. Working only during the weekdays wasn't enough. Even after Mike came home or on weekends, I continued working, which brought sarcasm from him. Must be nice being a housewife. Play at home and still get paid. Oh man, I wish I could play video games all day and earn money. Well, how about I work full-time and you stay at home? Half seriously suggesting that, Mike's face turned bright red in anger. Are you out of your mind? I work hard for that company. Without me, they'd go under. I had to hold back my laughter. Mike's company is a world-renowned corporation. One mid-level employee quitting wouldn't make a dent. One night, a drunk Mike came home and approached me as I was making accessories at a desk in the living room corner. He spoke with a stench of alcohol. Hey, food. I'll heat it up in the microwave. Just give me a minute. I replied hastily. Once I connect the wire with pliers, the piece I've worked on for a week will finally be complete. Just then, Mike leaned over to watch my careful work, and suddenly started shouting. Is that more important than your husband's dinner? Everyone's joking around here. Mike grabbed my piece out of my hands and yanked the wire forcefully. Colorful beads glittered in the air, scattering all over the floor. He kicked the table in front of me, threw the bead container against the wall, and then flopped onto the couch, snoring loudly before long. That's terrible! The deadline is tomorrow! Tears streaming down my face, I collected the beads, worked through the night without dinner, and managed to complete it. Exhausted, I sent the piece by express mail. When I got home, Mike was waiting at the front door with a scowl. Where were you so early in the morning? I delivered the piece to the client. The deadline was this morning. Oh. I thought he would apologize for last night, but Mike surprised me with his next words. I quit my job, so you won't have to iron my shirts for a while. Okay. Wait, you quit? Got tired of my incompetent boss. Don't worry. I'm good, I'll find something soon. Mike was full of confidence, but I felt a rising panic. Whenever we discuss finances, Mike gets grumpy, so I have no idea how much we have in savings. Thankfully, we inherited this house from my deceased parents, so we don't have a mortgage. But the burden of supporting both of us has suddenly fallen on me. I reached out to an online shopping company I had previously exchanged business cards with at an event and launched a new brand. After some time, my work started doing well, but Mike just took it easy and didn't look for a job. About a year after quitting his job, Mike reluctantly got back to work. But it was just a part-time job at a gas station, working only 3 days a week. Despite earning less than me, he still acted superior and held tight control over our finances. On top of that, for some reason, he'd get dressed up in the evening and head out. When asked where he was going, he'd say things like, going for a drink with a former coworker. Or, meeting a friend. I suspected infidelity, but Mike always took his cell phone with him, even to the bathroom, and kept it by his pillow when he slept. One day, on our way back from visiting Mike's parents, we stopped at a convenience store for coffee. He mentioned stopping at a rest stop, so I tried to check the distance on the GPS. And then, I found the hotel search history. I was shocked, but at the same time, I thought, yep, just as I suspected. He doesn't really work, doesn't do any chores, and he's cheating on me. All those insults and arrogant attitudes Mike threw at me in the past came rushing back, and I was fuming. I can't stand it anymore. I'm gonna divorce him. But first, I was thinking about getting some kind of revenge. I met up with an old friend, Amelia, for the first time in a while. I told her about Mike's affair and said I wanted to get back at him. She said she had a good idea. When I got home, I brought up the subject with Mike. Hey, remember Amelia from our wedding? Yeah. Can I go on a 3-day, 2-night trip with Amelia next weekend? Of course, on my dime. Mike, wide-eyed, quickly broke into a broad smile. Sounds great. You should take a break once in a while. Just like Amelia said, Mike agreed right away. He's definitely gonna bring his lover into our house while I'm away. Then, on the day of the trip, I left the house with my suitcase. I went out to the main street, crossed the crosswalk, and entered a cafe. There, I met Amelia sitting by the window. As we ate our dinner casseroles, I kept an eye on the street. After a while, a blonde woman with a black hat and black sunglasses appeared. In a street lined with shopping malls and buildings, where families and kids were walking or cycling, this woman was sneaking around, trying not to draw attention, and she looked downright suspicious. When the woman took off her sunglasses and looked up at my house from a side street, I recognized that face. Oh. That's Mike's ex-girlfriend. His ex? Yeah. I think her name was Sarah. I remembered because Mike once showed her on his phone screen. He seemed to be bragging about dating an older beauty back then. Watching through the window, as expected, Sarah was greeted by Mike and went into our house. As I was about to get up from my seat, Amelia asked me. She's probably sweaty, so she's likely headed straight for the bathroom. If you want to catch them there, you should go now. But if you want to catch them getting cozy in the bedroom, you should wait another 30 minutes. What's it gonna be? I think the bedroom's a safer bet. I chatted with Amelia to pass the time, and 30 minutes later, I left the cafe. I was filled more with anger than sadness from feeling betrayed. I realized that my feelings for Mike had long since faded. I quietly unlocked the front door and tiptoed up the stairs. I could hear Mike and Sarah talking from the bedroom. I never thought I'd run into you again working at that gas station. This must be fate. Ah, why did I marry her? Why did you marry your wife? I thought she'd be docile and easily obey me. If I can control the money, I can spend however I want. A free housekeeper? But lately, I can't stand even breathing the same air with her. Oh, Mike, you're so mean. Sarah giggled. Anger rushed to my head. The nerve of them. Who do they think they are? They'll regret saying that. Just as I was about to turn the doorknob, it seemed Mike sensed my presence. I heard scrambling noises from behind the door. When I flung the door open with force, the room was empty. On my bed, there was a neatly folded set of blue and pink pajamas. Looking at the window, I noticed the curtain was caught in it. They probably panicked and ran to the balcony in their underwear. I deliberately called out loudly. Mike, are you there? Of course, there was no response. Imagining the two of them trying to hide and crouching on the balcony made me want to laugh. Oh, seems like no one's home. Oh look, the window's unlocked. I walked over to the window, locked it, and left the room. Our house is set back a bit from the main road, but the balcony is clearly visible from there. It's close to office buildings and shopping malls, and there's always a lot of foot traffic, even in the mornings. If people saw a man and a woman on a balcony in their underwear, it would surely draw attention. Serves them right. With a smirk, I left the house. That morning, after staying at a business hotel, I woke up feeling refreshed. I was leisurely considering whether to grab breakfast at a cafe or maybe head to a diner when the phone rang. After ignoring about 30 calls, I finally answered. Mike's voice, sounding like he was about to cry, came through. Diane, please come back. It was the first time I'd heard him sound so vulnerable since we met. Pretending to be oblivious, I asked, "Good morning. What's up?" "Because you locked the bedroom door last night, we got stuck out on the balcony. Commuters and the local old ladies kept staring at us. It was so embarrassing." "Oh, I thought you were out since you didn't answer." "Sorry about that," I replied with a cheerful tone. "Wait, we? Who else is there?" Just please come back soon." Mike, stumbling over his words, would never admit that his affair partner was with him. Even though, if I returned, it'd be obvious. I couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Feigning sorrow, I told him, "I'm sorry. I'm on a trip, so it's gonna take me half a day to get back." "What?" I heard sniffling from the other end. Seems like Sarah couldn't hold back her tears. I took a deep breath and made an offer. "If you agree to a divorce without any fuss, I might hurry back. And make sure you turn in all the evidence of affair." "Divorce? Why?" "You know very well why." After a long silence, a defeated Mike replied, All right. I'll do whatever you say, just please come back." I hung up, packed my stuff, and left the hotel. After enjoying a leisurely breakfast at a cafe, I stopped by a place before heading home. I noticed a group of local housewives whispering under my balcony. "Oh, Mrs. Thompson. Your husband and some woman are on the balcony. What happened?" "Who knows?" I replied with a smile, acting as if it was none of my business, and went inside. Heading into the bedroom and unlocking the balcony door, Mike and Sarah rushed in as if racing each other. Man, that was rough. Mike, only in his boxers, muttered while scratching his head. Sarah, in a bright red lace dress, looked miserable with her makeup smeared from crying and her face puffy. Waiting for Mike and Sarah to get dressed, I spoke solemnly. "Now, show me the evidence of the affair as promised. You have texts and all sorts of proof, right?" Mike smirked as I hold out my hand. "Who do you think is gonna hand that over?" "What? You're probably planning on milking money from me and then leaving. But I ain't agreeing to divorce. Right, Sarah?" Sarah nodded. It seemed that Sarah was knowingly continuing a relationship with a married man. Not sure if he thought I was taken aback by the silence, Mike got cocky and continued. "You think you can live without me? Playing the victim over a little affair. Just keep taking care of me like you always have." "All right, recording done." I held up my phone and pressed the stop recording button, leaving Mike stunned. I smiled at Mike and explained. "I never expected you to obey me. I was waiting for you to incriminate yourself during our conversation. Your comments just now are sufficient evidence of verbal abuse and infidelity." Think it's gonna be that easy? I have more. I've been keeping record of your verbal abuses for over a year. And about the affair, I hired a private investigator about 2 months ago. Just received a bunch of incriminating photos. As I spread out the photos from my suitcase across the bedroom floor, Mike's face tightened. There were unmistakable shots of them being affectionate in public, happily entering hotels, and hugging inside Mike's car. Then, Sarah, who had been silent until now, spoke with a hint of confusion. "Mike, you told me your wife was clueless and would never find out. What are we gonna do now?" "It's okay, Sarah. Just leave it to me. She's always done what I say. She'll come crawling back. She can't live without me." I found it hilarious how Mike was still acting so arrogant with his face pale. Where was this confidence coming from? I asked Mike in a calm voice. "I want to ask something. Why do you assume I can't live on my own? I have a stable income. I think you, who can't do house chores, will have a harder time." I'm talented, so of course I can handle anything," Mike answered with utmost confidence. "You're head over heels for me, you know. You'd be lost without me. I'm saying we shouldn't get a divorce for your sake." I felt like I was about to faint. After all the verbal abuse, not giving me money, and even cheating, he still believed in my love for him. How delusional could he be? Trying to change the topic, I turned to Sarah. "Of course, Once you get together with this man, you will probably need to support him, so good luck. Sarah flinched, becoming increasingly restless. Oh no, I don't have the money. I can't do this. I get that kids in middle school are expensive, but that's what you get. The atmosphere became tense after my statement. Kids? Sarah, I thought you were single. Sarah lowered her eyes, looking guilty, biting her lip. Mike, didn't you know? Sarah's been divorced twice. For real? And she has a kid that old? No way. Sarah glared at Mike, her eyes narrowed. What's wrong with having an older child? Mike, you love kids. Don't talk like that. Mike doesn't like kids. That's why we don't have any. I chimed in, and Sarah looked at Mike in disbelief. He lied to me. How cruel. I sighed at Sarah's angry outburst. You're no different, Sarah. You seem to have quite a colorful circle of friends. In front of a puzzled Mike, I produced documents regarding Sarah. I had hired a private investigator to look into Sarah, and it turned out she was involved with several other married men besides Mike. Although there weren't any photos as evidence within a day, the report said she was in midst of troubles with wives of those married men. Sarah turned pale, stammering her defense. No, you've got it all wrong. The person I fell for just happened to be married. Well, you were still dating Mike at the same time, weren't you? I glanced over to see Mike's face contorted in anger. Hey, explain yourself. You said you weren't dating anyone. Mike confronted Sarah, who seemed fed up with having to explain herself. Finally, with a scoff, she replied smugly. Well, it costs a lot to raise a middle schooler. Spas, hair salons, and nail bars aren't cheap either. It sure was helpful that you guys thought I was single and would spend a lot of money on me. You snake! All right. Settle your quarrels elsewhere. Either way, I'll start filing for our divorce. Let's agree on the terms and then get divorced. I said coldly to the two of them. Mike, even if you're broke, our properties will be split equally. Make sure you don't play any fools on me anymore. Sarah tilted her head. You're a manager at a big company and you're broke? That was over a year ago. He was fired for constantly verbally abusing his subordinates. Now he's working part-time jobs. I'm the one supporting him. You even investigated on that? You're the one who lied. Now it was Sarah who was furious. I thought you said you were working part-time for some extra cash. You even showed me your business card. This is fraud. Exactly. I agreed. I always wondered, Mike, why you acted so high and mighty around me, even when you're just working part-time. Now I get it. Admitting that I support you hurts your pride, huh? Mike's face turned bright red. What a small man. I was so wrong about you. Mike snapped at her after Sarah muttered under her breath. Shut it, you liar. Look who's talking. I'm going back to the hotel. Mike, pack up your stuff within a week and leave. I'll start filing our divorce. I announced, leaving the house while Mike and Sarah continued to argue loudly. Their shouting reached the street, drawing giggles from passers-by. At this rate, they'll break up soon. Thinking about it gave me a feeling of relief. Though Mike was hesitant about the divorce, he was persuaded by the lawyer, who warned him. Taking this to court will cost a lot. And he reluctantly agreed to the divorce. Mike haggled a lot about the evidence, saying things like, "That's not a big deal." And, "She's overreacting for just 6 months of cheating, it's ridiculous." But overall, our divorce was settled with our properties to be divided equally. After our separation, he called me begging for support, but my lawyer warned him not to contact me directly, and he seemed to finally give up. The whole process took about half a year after I locked Mike and Sarah out on the balcony. Mike spent all his savings and moved to a 50-year-old apartment, and began earnestly looking for a full-time job to be able to support himself. He finally found a job at a small company where, on weekdays, he has to comply to a younger boss, and on weekends, works at gas stations and barbecue joints, from dawn to late night. After breaking up with Mike, Sarah apparently got involved with several married men, and it seems their wives found out and took action. Turns out, even after the divorce, she lived off money from these men. With no resource for money anymore, having no other option, she started working. I heard she's juggling 3 part-time jobs, working from the early morning to late night. The other day, I saw Sarah in town. She looked gaunt and completely worn out, appearing older than her actual age. After divorcing Mike, I reached out to the company I had reluctantly left and got rehired as a full-time employee. I make jewelry during my weekends. My reputation as a jewelry designer is gradually rising, and lately, I've been getting interviewed for magazines. It's busy but fulfilling days. No longer do I exhaust myself keeping the house spotless or walking on eggshells around my husband, or feeling hollow about my work. On weekend mornings, sipping tea while listening to the chirping of the birds is just delightful. From now on, I want to cherish my alone time and give my all to my work.